had to wait for the garage door to shut. So yesterday, after I turned off the camera, I went ahead and tried to wet sand this panel just to see. I just did this section, and this is much, much smoother, but there's still a very, very, I don't know the right word.
This intro's a little long. Let me give you a preview of what you're going to see today. Thought I'm in some terrible horror movie.
I hope this is painful to watch as it is for me to do.
It's a 14 millimeter.
Tap, 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 tap.
You have to say it.
You can't just do it.
Unless it's going to make me a liar. Guess I'll be learning how to do fiberglassing. Back to it.
For it, textured appearance here. So I mean, I'm going to have to spray this panel. I'm not super upset about that. I can sort of feel the difference here, but I can't really see it. But I think I'm actually like, the color match is great. I really like the color match. But like, listen, like, all right, see. So this is my hand running against the panel that hasn't been sanded. Now this is my hand running against the part of the panel that I have sanded. See the difference? So I started with 1200, which is the way wrong way to do this. This is my first time really doing wet sanding, so maybe I'm not really qualified to give any kind of a direction here. But so then I went back to a 500 grit wet sanded, and then went up to 1200, and that smoothed it out a lot more. And then I went ahead and got the polishing pad just to see what would happen, and I did a little spot right here, and I can actually see a very shiny spot here, but the porosity of the paint is still quite a bit there. So I'll sand all this back down with paint, and then I'll hit it again whenever I go to paint the other side. But I am excited, and the good news is, as I put the things back on the car, I will be able to move the car around because I'm going to attach all the wheels and stuff like that. So I'll be able to start it and move it around. I literally, as I'm saying this out loud, I remember that I still haven't ordered the, the fuel filler neck. I thought I had, but I can't find it anywhere. So I think maybe I didn't order it. So I got to order that so I can put fuel in it. I can put a little bit of fuel in it, but I can't really do anything until I hook back up the gas lines, which I haven't done yet, and then go from there. But it's moving. And I mean, it's definitely better. I also, after I got done with working on this yesterday, I went ahead and cleaned all the garage some because the garage is looking pretty bad. So once I did that, I think it'll be much better. But ugh, there's definitely some work that needs to be done here and here. But I think she's just gonna be the way she is, and we're gonna move right on, guys. Anywho. Next step, I had to close the garage door because it's getting a little chilly in here. It's really, honestly, it's just the wind that's causing issues. So we're gonna go ahead and move and put the front suspension on the the driver's side, and we'll go from there. Do this. Every time I shoot a video with really terrible lighting, I think to myself that I'm in some terrible horror movie. I'm gonna go ahead and get this stabbed back up onto the tower where it goes, and then we will lock it into place with 3 nuts. So here we go. So you're not blinded by the light. You can get away with that much without YouTube telling me that I'm using someone else's songs. It's not easy, and low lighting makes it even more difficult. I hope this is painful to watch as it is for me to do. Let's try all this again. Now I'm getting a little bit more light over here. Go ahead and take off this top piece like so. Set it over to the side where I'll probably forget where it is. Then we're going to use handy jack. Really great whenever one of your jack stands really has no pressure on it whatsoever. So that makes you feel confident. We're going to try this again. What we do is we rotate this, sort of set it. We're going to have to stab it first and then set it. Stab. Maybe we can set and then stab. Let's try that. Okay, so that's there. See if we can bring it down and push it in. Close, but okay. So I'm trying to push down so that way I can get the other bolt in there. Okay, I have great theory, but it's not really wanting to do the thing I'm asking it to do. Okay, it's not doing that. So we're gonna come back out. Stab it first. You'll notice there's still a ton of crap on this. I have the new suspension pieces that I'll work and do on this car, but first I'm concerned with just getting this car back out on the road. Okay. Now that it's sort of stabbed up there, I then move this piece down. Like so. It's almost there. If only I had a jack literally sitting right beside me that I'm refusing to use for some reason. Ugh, there we go. Got the stab there. So now, I can use this jack. I can sort of pick up this piece. Okay. Alright, now what we gotta do it's a 14mm top here. Alright, so once I stabbed the strut up into the cavity here, I then place the ball joint in on the lower A-arm there, and I'm just snugging these up. I'm not tightening them all the way, I'm just snugging them. Notice I don't even have washers on them currently. So once I get this snugged up in place, I'll then do that to the bottom stuff. Okay. So you can see, we got this sort of in a weird spot here, but all I gotta do is turn, sort of move, and we'll get it sort of tagged up to where it needs to go. I need to take this and I actually need to move that over. So if I can remember what I did with this just simple as it. Alright, now that I've got that done, so just put it in the right spot there. This is not going to go in for today. This does go down into that, like so.
But first we will attach that. Okay, so let's go back and see if I've got my bolts. So I cleaned up these bolts as best I could. Again, I'm not planning on doing any long distance driving in this thing, just moving it around. Okay, that's in. We're going to switch to time lapse. I actually spent quite a lot of time looking for the hardware during this portion of the build. I couldn't find a lot of the hardware, and so I cleaned up a whole bunch of it, but I ended up just ordering new sets from Z-Car Depot. Again, they don't sponsor me, I just really like what they do, and it comes individually sealed in packages. Really nice to have, and then you have some nice little Ziploc baggies to use after the fact. But a lot of fiddling just to get the ball joint aligned with where it needed to go in the mount. That was real fiddly, but now that I've only got one bolt holding this on right here. I don't even have it connected. I need to connect the brakes up real quick just so I can have a little bit of brakes, and then we will be able to move the car around. The goal here is I want to be able to turn the car around, and if I can turn the car around, I can then, I can spray paint this side of the car. I might not even move the car out of the garage. I might just set it down, sort of back it in, just to give myself maybe a few more inches of space here on this side of the car. Once I do that, I can then paint the car. That's sort of the goal here. We'll see. And then I'll go back to actually like this whole front suspension is going to get changed out. So we'll go from there. So now, as we attach back the brakes, what we're going to do is put the star pattern up top. We'll sort of tap it in place. Tap, 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 tap. You have to say it. You can't just do it. So now that's there. Go like this. And so this will actually sort of place down into that piece. That's why you put it with the star pattern up. And then we will screw this into place. Now, because I was working down here, I bent the lines just a little bit, so I might be able to just go up above. Problem is, I think my angle is a little bit off, and these lines are always so finicky. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this piece, sort of angled where it's got enough of a and then I'm angling this upper piece, just trying to get it to fit. Okay, so now that it's started, I'll go get the flare wrench and tighten it down. Getting the brake lines attached makes it where I can move the car around, which I will be doing here in the next couple of videos, so pretty excited about getting this all back together. And again, to anyone out there, just to let you know, in the next few videos I'm also going to be replacing all of these things. It might be 4 or 5 videos from now, but I will be replacing the front suspension with coilovers, and I'll be fixing up and working on the brakes as well during that time. I don't actually replace the brakes because the new brakes are too big to fit on the car, but I will be refurbishing these brake calipers that are in the car currently. Now for my favorite part, putting the doors back on. So I left these mounts on the car when I took the door off. I also spent another solid 30 to 40 minutes looking for the bolts to hold the doors on this car. Again, something that happens when you take 2 years to put a car back together. Key point there is I highly suggest that you put these bolts right back into the door after you get the doors off the car, because there's no need to store them somewhere else. But there's actually adjustable spots inside the pillars that I'll be talking about later in this video that you really should be using to remount these doors, versus the way that I'm attempting to do, which is prop one end of the door up and then try not to bang it up too hard on the new rocker panel that you just painted, I failed, and I definitely chipped the paint in a lot of different places, as well as bent the front end of the door here, which is what you see me checking out on the car. Don't forget, a wood block and a jack are always your friend in this situation, as they'll help apply a little bit of pressure to help you bring the door up just a tiny bit. I attempted to use a suction cup to pull out some of the small dents there on the door just really quickly. It didn't really work. I'll try it again maybe later, but now that I've got the front door on, at least roughly, I'll go ahead and start to try to put on the back door. Again, the whole point here is to try to get the car starting to be put back together so I can continue to paint the car and continue to put it back together so I can hopefully drive it here in the next couple months. Maybe even a couple weeks. But let's be honest, it's probably going to be months. By this point in time, I figured out that there were spots to get to where I could easily adjust the door.
Alright, I'm sure that many of you know where I made my mistake on the front door as well as this door at first. However, I did fix it, but I've got to sort of work with it. So there's actually these hinges. Alright, so there's actually these hinges here as well as down here that have quite a bit of space to move them around inside the car. And so what I've done is I've snugged them up. However, you can see that my door is down too low and out too far. You can see that here in the fact that there's a lip here, and then at the back it's quite exaggerated, which is fine because I didn't really get it fully latched in there. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got sort of it at least mocked up, I can loosen these bolts inside, and I'll show you how I do that here in a little bit. So we can adjust doors, and there's those same level of adjustments on the front door, so I'm going to go ahead and I will adjust the front door as well, instead of doing what I did. Also, pro tip, you should really lay down some painter's tape here so you don't ding up your newly painted rocker panels. That's fine. Again, not super upset. I'm learning a ton, and so now I know how this Datsun doors get set, and so I'm going to try to bring it up a bit in the mounting system. So we'll go ahead and do that now.
If you look at the lines of this car, I'm actually really happy with the way that the sonic lines along the side run into the doors. They actually went really well here, so I'm pretty happy with that. Not a huge amount of difference. But again, it's just a fiddly process of going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, trying to wedge the door open a little bit and up a little bit in different spots in order to get the right gap and fitment. And I don't get it perfect, but I do get it closer. I also end up taking out the under dash AC unit, which I'll talk about here later in the video. That was very fiddly and had a ton of small bolts on it that I had to get out of the way in order to reach these front bolts, but it was definitely worth it. And if you have an under dash unit and you're having to take off the doors, I would highly suggest you go ahead and strip out that under dash unit so that you can actually get to the bolts appropriately to adjust the door whenever you're putting back on or taking it off. Not a whole bunch of additional information here. It's just a lot of fiddly back and forth trying to get the door adjusted just right. When I take the under dash AC unit out, I try to make for sure to support the weight of it so it doesn't crack under its own weight. And I also try to not scratch up the door as best I can as I'm moving forward, but I don't do a very good job. Not a lot of soundtrack to go along with that, or voice track at least to go along with this. Just lather, rinse, repeat, and try to do a decent job as you are putting the door back on, and then try not to scratch your new paint, which I failed at miserably. But the doors, look at them. They're like on the car. How cool is that? It's been like 2018 last time these doors were on the car. Fun fact, in 2018, I was like 2 years younger. There's a nice gap along the bottom of the door. I flared out this part 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But the door is latching. I might have to bring out the latch just a tiny bit along the bottom just to flare out the bottom of this, but it's not hitting. Have a nice solid thud, closed. The gap is reasonable from the top to the bottom. This, I don't think I'm gonna fix. This is too large. Like, if you look, there's just a spot there. I don't know what else to do, but it's not hitting on the door frame. It's hitting on the door frame a little bit. I got more practice up there, so maybe I can get it all brought up a little bit too. Now that I sort of know how to do this, we want it forward and we want it up is what we need out of this door. But I'm actually pretty okay. The level here is good. It's right against the seam there. I guess it's sealing really well. But here's the step back. And this piece right over here had already been fixed by someone else. That piece over there is already broken. This is now broken. But this is the AC unit that I do want to fix, actually. So I'm going to figure this out at some point in time. But it's taken out and out of the way, and I can store it away safe and sound until the spring, maybe, and get to work on it. But I know it's boring, but it really needed to be done. I've got doors on the car now, at least on the passenger side. I learned how to adjust. We'll go ahead and show. And there's still probably right ways to do it, like shims and stuff like that, but there are 3 bolts here, in there, and then up in this area, which is not too hard to get to, assuming you take out or don't have an under dash AC, and then there's 3 in here and 3 down there that you have to get to. Takes forever, and mounting doors is never good. I should have tried to enlist some help somewhere along the way, but they're on. Good news, whenever you go to ground here and positive, unless it's gonna make me a liar. Oh yeah, right, I painted on that. You can see that the squirrel cages are both turning. So that's good, and it puts out a reasonable amount of air right here. Well, not bad. We at least know those work. But again, if I busted like half of that piece, I have to, guess I'll be learning how to do fiberglass. But doors are on. Can't fix everything, but it's better than it was. It's more solid. Someone else will hate me in a decade or 2 whenever they get it. But I can put the wheels back on, so that's what we're going to do next. So that way I can move it around and keep moving forward.
I'm back on my own suspension, and I've got the doors on. This will probably be the end of this video. I'm sort of losing track on what start of a video, where's the end of the video. I'm hoping to fix that a little bit in the next couple weeks, month. Once I get this car put back together, then I can actually do like more episode type deal, less just build vlog. But yeah, excited. This is good news, guys.